Thanks, Ken Corley. I'm delighted to have a brief opportunity to speak on the Vehicle Registration Data Automated Search and Exchange Bill 2018 before us today. The bill, of course, was initiated in the Shannon is to enable, to give effect, finally, Minister, to Council decisions 2008/615/JHA and 2008/615/JHA of June 23, 2008, relating to cooperation between the European Union states, Ireland and Norway sharing vehicle registration data to assist in combating, obviously, cross-border crime and in particular terrorism. And in general terms, that cooperation is very welcome. The above decisions, of course, are commonly referred to as the Broughan decisions, and despite the upcoming General Data Protection Regulation due to come into effect on May 25th this year, the Data Protection Bill 1998 will apply in this case, and that's one of the areas I think that's it's an interesting the fact, Minister, that exclusion is in it because deputies, we ourselves, and under your leadership, Cam, we're trying to make ourselves familiar with the General Data Protection Regulation as it affects indeed all of us. And Section 2 of the bill, of course, provides the Minister of Transport, Tourism and Sport to be the national contact point in Ireland, as the department is the owner of the vehicle registration data in this state. And Section 3 outlines provisions of the automated searching of the data in the national vehicle and driver file, the NVDF, subsection 1 of which states that a national contact point of another country will be granted access to the NVDF, and I quote, with power to conduct automated searches in an individual case, unquote. And subsection 2 provides for the type of information which may be used for these searches, which are the full vehicle registration number or the vehicle identification number, the VIN. And Section 4 of the bill, of course, provides for this automated searching of data held by designated states where our national contact point, yourself, Minister, would request the relevant state's contact point for access to data through automated searches. And subsection 4 of that states the data process may be only used for the purposes supplied unless authorisation is given for other purposes. Therefore, of course, authorisation would be needed to provide information to our court service, to Director of Public Prosecutions, or Garda Síochána, etc. Now, Section 7 outlines the functions of the Data Protection Commissioner in relation to the bill, which my colleague Deputy Stanley has been referring to as well, which includes carrying out the random checks, subsection 3, permission to exchange relevant data with our counterpart in the designated state, subsection 6, and the right to request that their counterpart carry out checks on the lawfulness of processes in their state, subsection 7. And the explanatory memorandum accompanying the bill, of course, mentions that the General Data Protection Regulation and the Policing Directive, and says that the Policing Directive explicitly states it doesn't apply to PREM, and that the data protection measures prior to the Policing Directive and the GDPR will continue to apply to the PREM decisions, despite that means under the Data Protection Act, of course, 1988. Now, Sections 9 and 10 set out provisions for the duties of data controllers and authorised officers. Worryingly, of course, subsection 3 and 4, Minister, of Section 9 provide for the recouping of damages because of inaccuracy of data received or sent. Now, that part of the bill is very worrying, Minister, and I'll tell you why. We now have a situation in Ireland where the Garda cannot effectively access information on a driver's licence to ascertain whether the driver has a full licence or has a learner permit. Concerned constituents, including the Park Road Safety Organisation, led by Ms Susan Gray, of course, have been in touch many times with me lately, saying that they have been informed that if a member of Garda Síochána wants to know the details and status of a driver's licence, that is, whether they are a learner driver, etc., the Pulse system doesn't hold this information. And I'm informed that the investigating Garda must write to their Chief Superintendent saying why they need access to the information, that is to determine the licence status of a driver involved in a fatal crash, for example. And the Chief Superintendent must then write to the Road Safety Authority's National Driver Licence Service, requesting the information from their file and again giving the reason for why. So a very cumbersome and process, Minister, which clearly is not functional. My contacts are told that it's a very long drawn-out process, which the RSA changed a number of years ago due to data protection procedures. I'm told also that it can take months to get the necessary information, and in some cases the information is allegedly never sent or received. And previously, of course, the Garda used to be able to just make a phone call to the RSA to access the information. And recently, of course, the RSA provided information to Prime Time regarding the number of learner drivers involved in fatal crashes, 12, for example, in 2017, and the number of unaccompanied learner drivers, which was 9 that year, and significant significantly, 6, 9, 10 and 10 over the previous 4 years. But looking through all the RSA statistics, one thing that's very striking, Minister, is that they differ from the Department of Justice and Equality figures, and indeed from Garda Síochána figures. The RSA, for example, said that in 2014 there were 6 fatal collisions involving an unaccompanied learner driver. The Justice said there were just 8 fatal collisions involving an unaccompanied learner driver, in one of your PQ replies, I think. The RSA said in 2015 there were 9 fatal collisions involving an unaccompanied learner driver. The Justice said there were 16. The RSA then said in 2017 there were 10 fatal collisions involving an unaccompanied learner. Yet on the 8th of November last, the Taoiseach Leo Varadkar stated in the seat beside you there that 11 unaccompanied learner drivers died on our roads to that point last year. That figure only covered the drivers, of course, didn't include other innocent victims that may have also died in those fatal crashes in 2017. On the 28th of March, just recently, we learned that between 2003 and 2016, 196 deaths have been misclassified in Garda records and were actually caused by dangerous driving and road traffic collisions. And the Irish Times reported that the biggest underestimation by the Garda occurred in the dangerous driving causing death category. The Garda had initially recorded 504 such cases, but the revised figure is actually 700, a difference of 196 cases. So, therefore, Minister, how do you expect us to be able to share information with other countries when we can't even record it and share it accurately among ourselves? In some cases of PQs in the area of road safety, of course, I've been waiting for over a year for replies from the Department of Justice in particular. I have a long list of outstanding PQ replies which I continuously follow up on, only to be told that the Minister, and I quote, will be in touch once the Garda report is to hand, end quote. I previously raised inconsistencies with the endorsement of licences with penalty points, the inadequate surrendering of disqualified licences, the inability of the Gardaí to identify disqualified drivers, and other litanies of inadequacies in our data collection, collation and dissemination of information. So how do you think, Minister, that we will now be able to partake in this EU-wide data sharing project, and it simply beggars belief given the inconsistencies and the gaps, the lacunae that we found over recent years? So I will be supporting the bill because I agree with the general thrust of it, but you know, clearly the issues in relation to data protection and the issues in relation to the actual collation and accuracy of our own information are very disturbing, and obviously yourself and the Minister for Justice are the 2 key ministers you know, who are involved. So I'd urge you, Minister, to prioritise fixing what seems to be an absolute shambles of the NVDF, NDLS and the Pulse recording systems without further delay. Thanks, Cameron.
Thank you, Deputy Broughan.